All right, welcome back. My name is Brandon Clayton, excited to continue to go through the book of Mark, learning how we can go all in for the Messiah and really give our whole hearts to him. Who wants to be last? Who wants to be last? That's a question I don't hear often. Raise your hand if you want to be last, kids. I can see them lining up right now. No, it doesn't go like that. I want to be first. I don't want to be last. I have a 4-year-old. She'll tell me clearly in fold her arms, I don't want to be last. I don't want to do that. Who wants to join a football team, baseball team, soccer, whatever sport? Who wants to do arts or music or as a musician and be in last place? No one wants to be last. It's against our fabric. It's against our nature to want to be in last place. But one thing we find as we go through the scriptures, as we look at the gospel, is that if we're serious about following the Messiah, we will oftentimes find ourselves in last place. Find that we'll put ourselves in the back. Our emotions, the things that are on our hearts. If you're like me, you've often said to yourself at different times, what about me? Now that could be in an argument, that could be if being picked for a team, that could be just simply, can you be considerate? What about me? But we'll find here that it's not about you and you'll be last. Look, if you want to be spiritual, be second. But if you want to follow the Messiah, be last. You will often find yourself last. Let's continue our study as we, in the book of Mark. We'll look at chapter 6, starting in verse 29. It's important that I give a little context here, and I'm going to do a little differently this time. We're going to go through the passage piece at a time as this story unfolds before us all. Right where we're picking up, the disciples have been sent out, the 12 have been sent out by twos. They've been casting out spirits and demons and healing people in incredible ways, going from house to house. They were asked to take nothing with them. At the end of this journey, they learned that amazing man, John the Baptist, was killed. And not that he was killed by a heart attack, not that he died of old age, but a horrific death. His head was chopped off for a birthday gift to Herod. I can imagine the pain that they must have been feeling and going through at the end of them reaching out to so many people. So we're in this context now, and we'll pick up there. It says in verse 29, and when the taught ones heard of it, they came and took away his dead body and laid it in a tomb. And the emissaries gathered to Yahshua and reported to him all, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said to them, come aside by yourselves to a lonely place and rest a little. For there were many coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. And they went away to a lonely place in the boat by themselves. I just want to pause there for a second. We're going to spend time talking about being last and not even just being second, but there's something cool that happens here. You don't see this often, but he's saying, look, let's pull away and rest. My goodness, I can imagine, you don't hear him talk about it, but you can imagine his cousin, John the Baptist, being beheaded takes a toll on you. We're in a human body. I have emotions. I have feelings. Any job would allow at least a few days to grieve for that. He says, let's go rest. You guys have been going door to door healing and ministering to people. Let's go rest. You just finished handling his body and burying him. Let's go rest. Let's find a place by yourselves and rest. And I want to encourage someone watching this, because sometimes we don't feel good to rest. Some of us feel so guilt-ridden or pushed constantly by ourselves that we need to be doing something. But the Master himself is saying, look, let's find a place by yourself so we can get a little rest. That's a command. And we'll often break it if we're not being in touch with how he's leading us and what he's speaking to us. And we're just trying to do a lot of good things, which I've talked about in another lesson. So time to sit down. Let's rest. Well, let's see what happens. And they went to a lonely place in the boat by themselves. But they saw them going, and many recognized him and ran there on foot from all the cities and came before them and came together to him. Oh, when I read that passage, it just shook me. This is not a good time. You got this picture, they'll find a final place of rest. They found a lonely place. They're on their vacation. They just want a little rest. And what happens? It says people are thronging to him. They're running to him from all the cities, just coming out to him. And all of our lives, these last few years rather, they can say, we've been doing so much. Let's just sit down for a minute. We haven't been able to eat even. That's why we're doing this. And yet people are coming from all directions. I thought about, what if I had gone on a vacation? And I just wanted to get away for a minute, and yet your job, your work, my responsibilities are still there waiting for me. Just give me a minute. I can feel that pressure. Again, like I said before, most jobs would understand that, look, you're grieving. I would want to say, hey, please. Do you understand what I'm going through? I have a close friend, a family member who's just died, and I haven't even got a second yet. My friends have been giving themselves, we just want a second, please, I get back with you. That's what I would have said. But I'm learning that it's not always in place. What did he say? How did he handle this? In verse 34 it says, and having gone out, Yahshua saw a large crowd and was moved with compassion for them, because they were like sheep not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them many matters. Wow. On top of all that he's gone through, he didn't say a word about what he's feeling. He didn't say a thing about what he had just experienced. He just saw them. He was able to look past his own feeling, he may have been hungry, tired, grieving, but he was able to put all of that to the back seat and was able to look at someone else's life and be filled with compassion for them. Wow. You try that. Oftentimes when we get hungry, when we get tired, when we get busy, we don't want to be interrupted. And you know what? Most people understand that. We'll simply say, look, I have a lot going on. There's a lot of things, and okay, yeah, I get it. And nobody will give you a hard time, but that's not the example he gives us. See, there's often going to be times where we just need to put ourselves back and say, look, I'm feeling a lot. I'm not even going to tell you, because sometimes we might want to boast about it. Look, I'm going through a lot, but I'll do it anyway, just so you'll know that I'm sacrificing for you. He didn't do that. He put himself on the back, and he just served them. He gave to them in their need, because he saw sheep without a shepherd. He didn't see like you and I see. He didn't see, well, these people need to go home. Well, y'all should have taken care of yourselves anyway. You should have been paying attention to the lesson. That's why you're all over the place. We reason like that. Well, you are where you are because of the poor decisions you made. No, he saw sheep who didn't have a shepherd. They didn't know any better. They're just looking for something. And what did it cause him to do? Huge point here. It caused him to be filled with compassion, and out of that compassion, he gave what he had. Watch this, that's going to come up again. He gave what he had. He says, look, I started teaching them. They're missing something and I can give it. I'm going to teach them. I believe if he were a musician, he would have started playing for them. If he were singing, he would have started singing for them. If he had whatever, if he were an artist, he would have drew for them. Whatever he had, he was going to give to them. He says, I'm going to give you what I got according to the needs that I see. Is that your heart? Forget what I'm feeling, forget what I'm going through. Well, you made me mad. Well, I don't understand why you treat me like that. No, because of I see your hurt. Yes, I've been hurt. You did me wrong. You can't understand. You're not being considerate. You. No, you know what? Forget what I'm feeling. It's not about me. What can I do to minister to you? That's what he left us with. And he started teaching them right there on the spot. And watch, he'll teach his disciples to do the same thing. It says, and as the hour grew late, his taught ones came to him and said, this is a lonely place, and now the hour is late. Send them away so that they go into the surrounding country and villages and buy themselves bread, since they have no food to eat. They said, hey, This is a lonely place. You remember you just said a minute ago that we're going to come to a lonely place? This is one. We found it. And we got to, and I knew they had a good reason here. It's a lonely place. You said we was going to come here to rest. And it's getting late. Oh, you know what? And they're getting hungry. We need to send them away. Here, translation. We really want to be left alone right now. And matter of fact, it seems pretty wise to do so. So let's go ahead and send them to their way. And totally makes sense. I believe if I was there, I would say, you know what? That's true. I don't want them to be hungry. That's not godly. But yet God did something different. He says, but answering, he said to them, you give them to eat. Hold on. We're tired. We're grieving. We've been through a lot. And you're pushing to the limit. We've been sitting in the boat. We've been sitting on this land and you've already been preaching. And now it's getting late. That means we've been here minute after minute, maybe an hour or two listening when we were supposed to have been resting for a little bit. And now you're asking us to give them something to eat? My God, we learned that there's thousands of them, over 5,000 people. Surely we had a good point there. But their response was, as many of our responses would be, he says, and they said to him, should we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give them to eat? And I'm sure they were thinking, this is maybe even sarcastically, like, really? You want us to go to the market? And come on, that's not even realistic. That's not possible. We just want to chill. We just want to rest. Then he said to them, how many loaves do you have? How many do you have? Stop talking about what you don't have and what you can't do. He says, tell me what you got. I want to minister through what you have. I just showed you, look, I have the ability to teach and to encourage these people. Well, I'm going to teach them right now in their neediness. What do you have? And so many times I've not given the way I should have because I talk about what I don't have. If I had more money, then I would give more often. Well, if the question comes up all the time, what if you had $1 million? What would you do with it? Oh, I'll give it to charity. I'll bless this people and do this country. But what if you had $10? See, because what we want to do with $10, what we'll do with 10 million. And if you're not doing with $10, then you won't do it with 10 million. If that's your heart to want to give, you're going to give. He says, what do you have? And let Yahweh bless what you have. So they say, look, we got 5 loaves and 2 fish. 5 loaves and 2 fish. He says, I'll take that. If you're watching me right now, you got something. You got some ability, some gift, some skill that you can offer. Even if you're saying to me, no, I don't have anything. And I'm sure that's not the case. You got something that you can offer, that you can give. Why? Because he's arranged the parts of the body so that may be the case. You got something. But I love it, because if you're watching me, I know you got some eyes and you can see. If you're listening to me, you got some ears and you can hear. If you got a mouth, you can speak. If you got 2 feet, you can walk. You got hands. There's something you can do. And I love Bartimaeus. He says, look, Satan, I got 2 ears. I heard the Messiah passing by, the blind man. He says, but I can yell. I maybe can't see, but I can say, hey. The bleeding woman says, I got legs. I can push my way through this. I can get to him. Use what you got to be last. I'm going to be last with what I got, and I'm going to give that to you. And it goes on that he blesses the food, and everyone eats and is satisfied. In verse 45, and immediately he made his taught ones into the boat, because they're finished and now they're leaving, and to go before him to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he was dismissing the crowd. And having sent them away, he went away to the mountain to pray. Wow. If you want to be like the Messiah, you be last. 5,000 people. He put his disciples in a boat before him. He says, you guys go ahead. I know you're tired. I know you're hungry. I know you've been listening to me preach and teach and this whole time. You guys go ahead. What you mean go ahead? You're feeling some stuff too. You got some things going on. Yes, I do, but you go ahead before me. And then after they went ahead, he got with the crowd and dismissed them. And he was dismissing them pieces at a time, individuals at a time, groups at a time, maybe having conversations. I'm still struggling because in my mind I'm thinking I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm grieving. How inconsiderate. One of my biggest pet peeves, I may call it, is inconsiderateness. You weren't considerate. I'm driving in traffic. You just cut me off. You're not considerate. I'm speaking right now. Why are you cutting me off? Be considerate of me. What about me? He says, no, you guys go first. You go next. And he doesn't even raise one complaint and say, look, you're not thinking about me. But yet he dismisses them. He dismisses everyone. And when he's done with all that, it says now he goes to the mountain to pray. And you can imagine what he was praying about. He was spending some time reflecting on all that just happened, refilling his spirit and his soul. And that's a huge point, that if the Messiah saw the need to go and pray, why do we often try to circumvent that and get around it? He wanted to go pray immediately, as soon as he could. Guys, there are going to be times when you don't have to be last. But if you're going to be serious about following the Messiah, you need to consider, is this an opportunity for me to be last right now? And to stop saying, look, I'm feeling bad, excuse me, but I'm hungry and you're going to have to wait. Excuse me, I'm tired. You understand, I'm tired. I remember watching a father show some anger towards his kids. And I asked him, I said, why are you treating them like that? He said, well, I had a bad day. I had a bad day. And I'm a teacher, and I have a lot of my students say that, and I know I feel it too. Well, I had a bad day, so everybody else needs to conform to how I'm feeling right now. Well, you understand, I'm feeling bad, so you're going to feel bad too. You're going to get it. No, you're last. Don't even bring it up. Just minister to them. Swallow that pride. Swallow those emotions. Swallow your hurt. It's not about you. And still be able to look into the eyes of the person across that table, across that room in your home, at your job, and say, what are you feeling right now? And I want to see how I can minister to you, and watch that Yahweh won't bless because of that. Guys, it's exciting and it's convicting. But if we're going to be serious about calling ourselves disciples of Christ, we got to be serious about actually following him. Because as I've said before, we have no problem saying we're disciples of the Messiah until it's time to do what the Messiah was doing. So let's go all in how we're putting ourselves all last, so that he can bless us and through us bless those people we're ministering to. Guys, I love you, and I'll see you next time.